Alright, well this cop's first shift turned out to be one hell of a night. Hello and welcome to Sci-Fi-Night. I'm your host, Sebastian Vendel-Martinez, and this is the show where we check out some of the lesser-known sci-fi and horror movies out there and let you know what to expect from them. So, in this episode, we're checking out Last Shift for the first time. Last Shift is a 2014 horror film directed by Anthony de Blasi and written by de Blasi and Scott Foyley. So, de Blasi has apparently made tons of horror films I've never actually heard of, such as Dread, Casadaga, and Most Likely to Die. The film stars Juliana Harkavy, who was killed off during her short stay on The Walking Dead, but who's probably best known as Black Canary from the TV series The Flash and Arrow. The film started getting some good buzz and good reviews, and after that writer Max Landis and the awesome crew over at Red Letter Media recommended it, I knew I had to see it.
I just saw a movie the other week called Last Shift.
Oh, that's great. I just watched it.
Yeah, the cop movie. It's kind of great.
Harkavy plays police officer Jessica Lauren, a rookie cop on her very first assignment, which is basically just to keep watch at an old police station before the hazmat team arrives to clean up and for the station to finally be shut down.
I guess I don't understand what I'm doing here.
The real question is, what the hell am I still doing here? Okay, but to answer yours, you are the lucky rookie to work the very last shift in this mausoleum.
Oh man, she scored on her first night. Working the night shift is great. You get paid for not actually really doing any work, right? While working, strange things start happening at the station, and as things gradually get stranger, we bump into characters who flesh out the backstory of both the station and Officer Lauren's father, who was also a police officer. This eventually leads to suspicion of the last survivors of a fucked up Charles Manson-style death cult who Lauren's father helped put away.
I'm not ashamed of what I do. You ashamed of paying your taxes, taking care of your kids, or loving your wife? I do what I do.
And that's basically where I'm going to stop with a plot synopsis, because as is always the case, I don't really like spoiling too much of a movie because it lessens the experience, and believe me, I saw this film without really knowing anything about it, and it definitely helped my viewing of it. Yeah, this is another case where I would actually recommend not watching the trailer because it shows too much of the best parts. Just watch this review instead. I'm also choosing to pretty much only show clips from the first half of the film before things really start up, so I won't spoil anything for you.
I can see you don't believe me, but I'm willing to bet my tits and a pack of cigarettes. It's the truth.
Basically, things start to slowly escalate from weird to Charlie Sheen batshit crazy, and what I really liked, especially about the first half of the film, was that it wasn't just a bunch of jump scares, but subtle stuff, mostly focused on sounds and atmosphere, which I really enjoyed. For example, a really effective scene in the dark with a flashlight, and lots of other subtle little creep-out moments. Also, despite the film taking place pretty much all in one location, which was probably done for budget reasons, the film never really gets boring and they use the location to the fullest, giving off a claustrophobic and paranoid vibe that gets stronger as the film goes on.
I repeat, possible code 9.
Basically, I really like the overall production here, from sound design to cinematography to shot composition. It all comes together pretty well, but this film wasn't really without its flaws. So while there was a lot of stuff I really enjoyed about the film, some of the writing and acting wasn't all that great. For example, there's a flashback sequence where some of the performances weren't very convincing.
Yeah, you could say that.
Also, while I overall liked Harkavy as a protagonist, there were some points where I just really didn't get into the performance, and I can't really pinpoint why.
You okay?
Yeah, no, I'm good.
Also, one thing I gotta say, I fucking hate the posters for this film. This is a nice, creepy film with subtlety and clever scares, but the posters are the most over-the-top, cliche, by-the-numbers bullshit that don't at all reflect the subtlety, atmosphere, or anything I actually liked about the film. I mean, what 14-year-old Marilyn Manson fan made these posters? But anyway, how a poster looks is of course not a detriment of the film itself.
I didn't mean what I said. I'm sorry if I was rude. You can stay.
So I'm not going to spend any more time trashing posters, but instead tell you what to expect. Spooky sound design. Alright, so the atmosphere in this film is pretty great, and while the direction, effects, and cinematography all work pretty well, the sound design steals the show here. I later read that director Anthony de Blasi wanted the sound design to be the focal point of the scares, and it really shows and works. It all works for a great spooky atmosphere that definitely creeped me out, so if you've got a good home movie system set up, this is a great film to test the speakers.
Sir, give me my flashlight and get back down on the ground. Let me remind you, I'm armed.
Small budget scares. So I couldn't find exact budget estimates, but this is a film with a noticeably small budget, but not really in a bad way.
You're not fucking with me.
No.
They make use of their one location to the fullest, the scares all work, and mostly in a minimal yet effective way. One of the scares got me pretty good actually, but there is still that little spark missing that a larger budgeted film would have. And as I mentioned, some of the performances aren't that great and feel a little B-movie. While it's not so much the way things look, there is definitely a sense that the film could have been bigger and better with a few more dollars thrown at it, but it doesn't really bring the film down overall.
You think so? I'm gonna help you, I promise you. Stay on the phone with me, I'm gonna help you.
Good direction, weak writing. So, as I've stated, I really love the way the film looks. The camera has a great point of view feel, and they truly film the location in the best way possible. You can tell that director Anthony de Blasi has a good eye for atmospheric horror, but when it comes to the writing, the film just doesn't hold up that well. As is the case in these types of movies, we always must ask ourselves, why doesn't she just leave once things start getting crazy? There are some points made to motivate her for staying there, but I would totally have gotten the hell out of there or called for backup in several situations. This honestly did bother me because I really was digging everything else about the film, and it's a shame that some of the writing elements brought it down for me. The ending can be interpreted a bit differently, and while it definitely worked for me, I can see it pissing some people off since it's not clearly explained, but that's actually what I kind of liked about it. Alright, so while there definitely are some minus points to be given, overall, director Anthony de Blasi definitely shows a lot of potential, and even though his films aren't really the best reviewed on IMDb, Last Shift actually gets me interested in seeing some of his other movies as well. This is a good, fun horror flick, simple as that. It's hardly super original or groundbreaking, but there's such clear passion for filmmaking, and the way they get around their budget constraints is actually pretty admirable. The technical aspects of the film are great, and while some of the details aren't all there, and there certainly is more to critique if you want to nitpick, like some characters are obviously there to purely serve as exposition, some choices made by some people are questionable, but overall, if you like horror, this is a welcome addition that admittedly doesn't do a whole lot of new stuff, but it does one hell of a job at what it sets out to do. So that about does it for this episode of Sci-Fi-Night. We hope you enjoyed it. As always, you should leave us some comments below letting us know what you thought of this episode, the movie Last Shift, and leave us some comments for future content as well. So as always, I'm your host, Sebastian Vendel-Martinez, and we'll catch you guys next time.
There is a crazy homeless man in holding as we speak. He pissed all over my lobby. It's not really funny.
It's kind of funny.